What's good, y'all? Kid Jerome here. Graduation is the third album released by the artist formerly known as Kanye West. Chicago rapper Ye released in September of 2007. Those of you unfamiliar with Ye's music, first off, how? Second off, he's a producer as well. He has a large hand in making a lot of these songs in his own sound. So he's distinct from his competitors in this way. A lot of the songs were produced largely by himself, rapped largely by himself. There's a handful of features on this album, but Ye is very much the star of the show here. He has a great level of commitment to his craft, and it really comes through in this album. The beats are largely very eclectic. They're very bright. Most of them are in a major key, which is uncharacteristic for rap music, especially today. A lot of them take on more minor intonations. They're a lot more sad and reflective, but Graduation feels like a celebration of life, kind of like how you would feel at a graduation. It's very uplifting. Ye deals heavily in samples. He has this uncanny ability to take a classic song or even a deep cut and flip it into one of the catchiest things you've ever heard. We have some examples of this on Good Morning. He samples Someone Saved My Life Tonight by Elton John. On Champion, he samples Kid Charlemagne by Steely Dan. There's such a wide selection of samples here. He goes on to sample Michael Jackson, Mountain, Public Enemy. Just someone from every genre, it seems like, ended up on this album, but ultimately they all boil down to Ye's signature sound. They all just coalesce in this beautiful, wonderful vision he had. The samples that hit the hardest for me are Ye's soul samples. The way that he uses soul music is genius. These vocals sound incredible over these hard-hitting hip-hop beats. Ye flows effortlessly in between the samples. On Champion, the sample serves as the hook and the cornerstone of the beat. On I Wonder, they introduce the sample in its entirety in the beginning, seemingly unedited, and immediately flip it, adding more context to it, really bringing it into Ye's wheelhouse, bringing it to his court. On The Glory, the choppy soul sample in the beginning feels sort of out of place. It's a little jarring at first. It really grabs your attention in this way, but I'm left confused until the beat drops, and then it just makes perfect sense. It fits so perfectly in between these heavy kick drums, these very bass heavy beats. It's wonderful stuff. It's amazing what he's able to do with these soul samples. Ye's drums are often very simple and repetitive, and I'm not saying this critically. I think this was a very effective approach to production on this album. The repetitive drums allowed the beat to sort of grow around it rather than grow with it. They were always there supporting the song. I mean, they're one thing you can really latch onto as a listener, while everything around you sort of just swells and blossoms into the climax. I really appreciate this technique for what it was. Since the drums are so repetitive, when they cut out, it's way more noticeable. The drum breaks are a lot more dramatic, they're a lot more clear, and they add a lot more emphasis to the song, as opposed to if the drums were sort of all over the place. The drum breaks would sound just like another technique the drummer's throwing out. But in this context, it's jarring in the best way possible. On the bridge of I Wonder, the drums cut out and are replaced immediately by these dramatic strings. It's a very emotional moment for the album. On Can't Tell Me Nothing's outro, the drums break to provide emphasis to the horns. I didn't even notice the horns were in the beat until the drums took a back seat. But once they did, I was able to appreciate the beat for all that it was, outside of the common hip-hop tropes, outside of the heavy booming drums. It was a really beautiful moment. Ye's lyrical content is largely on topic. Each song has an overarching theme, and he really stays on subject. That was pretty common in 2007, but it's becoming less common as the genre evolves. There's not as much of a commitment to telling a story or to getting a message across anymore, but I really appreciate it for what it is. A lot of the songs are are brimming with braggadocio, which is really, really common for Ye. I mean, this guy's ego is ginormous. Barry Bonds, he brags about his songwriting prowess. On Good Life, he just flexes his wealth in the face of his perceived haters, saying things like, keep hating, I'm still in a jet. Just, really, really just being a brat about it, but not in a bad way. I think it's important for people to really flex their shit every now and then, to really remind us who they are, what they're capable of, what they've achieved. I think this is very valid, especially for Ye. In stark contrast to braggadocio, there's these recurring themes of deep introspection, where Ye tells his story from his perspective, where he tries to help us understand why he is the way that he is. On Everything I Am, he claims that his personality is what got him his success, which is notable because there was a lot of criticism of his personality at this point. There were a lot of people saying that he didn't fit sort of the common rap tropes. He wore backpacks and polos everywhere. He didn't look cool, whatever cool was in 2007. But he says that it's because of this, because he stayed true to himself, that he was able to achieve this great level of success. And what a wonderful moral that is, right? On Homecoming, Ye ruminates over an ex-lover who is, it's more of an extended metaphor for his hometown, Chicago, right? He says it pretty bluntly towards the end of the song. And he talks about how he misses his hometown. He talks about the influence he's had over his hometown, talks about sort of just his roots. This is his origin story, right? So I really appreciate he took this moment to introduce us to himself. Ye's rapping ability is very impressive. He has some very clever rhyme schemes on this album. One that stuck out to me was on Can't Tell Me Nothing. He says, let's say I talk with so much emphasis. Ooh, they so sensitive. So emphasis and sensitive don't really rhyme, right? But they did just then. The way that he slanted the ending sounds of each bar contributed to the rhyme scheme in a way that they absolutely shouldn't have contributed. These words do not rhyme, but they did when Ye said them, right? That's what's important here. They do when Ye says it. On Good Morning, he says good morning, which is also not a word. Good morning, but watch this. Good morning. Look at the valedictorian. Scared of the future while I hop in a DeLorean. Valedictorian, DeLorean, and good morning. Who does this? Who rhymes this way? Ye rhymes this way. There's some very memorable, iconic one-liners on this album. Stuff that's infinitely quotable, infinitely repeatable, infinitely tweetable. On Stronger, he says, you should be honored by my lateness, that I would even show up to this fake shit. On I Wonder, he says, I'm a star. How could I not shine? On Everything I Am, he says, people talk so much shit about me at barbershops, they forget to get their hair cut. Just really, really clever wordplay here. Really cool stuff. I love his personality. It really shines through in bars like this. The hooks are extremely memorable on this album. The tracks are poppier than his contemporaries. We can thank the Major Key for a lot of this, but I think mostly it was just Ye's mental state at the time. He was on his victory lap. On Good Morning, the title hook is unforgettable. It's the first thing you hear in the album, and it'll never leave. It'll never, ever leave. I'll never forget a hook like this. Barry Bonds, the hook is 4 words long. We out of here, baby. Who could forget that? On Homecoming, he recruits Chris Martin. On Good Life, he recruits T-Pain. This is an R&B artist and a classic rock artist. Not hip-hop at all. Hip-hop adjacent on T-Pain's part, but he's bringing in these singers to really sing these hooks on rap songs, which was not super common. I guess more common back then than it is now. But I really appreciate his commitment to his craft in this way. I appreciate that he took the hook so seriously. That was so important to him, that we have hooks we can sing along to. It feels like an album for the people. Graduation is one of the most influential hip-hop records of all time. Ye had a lot to prove going into this record and laid it down effortlessly. It's bright, it's fun, many of the tracks are unforgettable, not a single one is skippable. It's essential listening. I recommend this album to fans or would-be fans of hip-hop and people who need a confidence boost. If you're a fan of Kanye West, you're a fan of yourself. Some songs that really stood out to me were Good Morning, Stronger, and I Wonder. I'm going to give this album a very strong 9 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you thought about the album in the comments. Make sure you leave a like if you appreciate anything I had to say. That really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next review. So until then, peace.